Hey there, my fellow citizens, and welcome in-depth discussion about social grants in South Africa. Today we're diving into a critical topic that affects millions of our fellow citizens, SASSA 2025, hidden rule changes that could affect your payments. If you're one of the 18 million South Africans who depend on SASSA grants, whether it's the SRD grant, child support grant, old age pension, or disability grant, there are several new changes coming in 2025 that you absolutely need to know about. Some of these changes aren't being widely publicized, which is why we are breaking them down for you today. Let's get straight into it. SASSA has implemented several rule adjustments that could directly impact whether you receive your grant, how much you receive, and when payments will arrive in your account. New verification procedures affecting payment timelines. The first major change concerns verification procedures. Starting from February 2025, SASSA has introduced a more rigorous bank verification process designed to reduce fraud. This new system is causing what officials call temporary delays in processing both new applications and renewals. Former Social Development Minister Linda Zulu acknowledged before leaving office that these changes were necessary but admitted that the transition period would be challenging for many beneficiaries. As she stated in a final parliamentary address, the new verification system will ultimately protect the integrity of our social security system, even though it may cause short-term inconvenience. What does this mean for you? If you're used to receiving your payment on a certain date each month, prepare for possible 3-5-day delays while the new system is being implemented. SASSA officials have assured the public that by June 2025, processing time should return to normal, but until then, you may need to adjust your financial planning accordingly. If you've been searching SASSA payment dates 2025 or wondering about unusual delays, this new verification system is likely the reason behind the changes you're experiencing. Revised means test thresholds, more people may qualify. Here's some potentially good news. SASSA has updated the means test thresholds for 2025, which determines whether you qualify for certain grants based on your income and assets. For the old age grant, the income threshold has increased from 8,700 to 9,250 per month for single applicants, and from 17,400 to 18,500 for married couples. For the child support grant, the threshold has increased to 6,300 per month for single caregivers and 12,600 for joint household income. Current Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana highlighted this change during his February budget speech, noting that an estimated 280,000 additional citizens will now qualify for various grants due to the adjusted means test thresholds. If you previously applied for a grant and were rejected because your income was slightly too high, it might be worth checking if you now qualify under these new thresholds. The new SASSA threshold 2025 search term has been trending as more people discover they may now be eligible. SRD grant reconsideration process changes. The SRD, Social Relief of Distress, grant, sometimes called the A350 grant, has undergone significant changes in its reconsideration process. Previously, if your application was declined, you had 30 days to request reconsideration. Under the new rules, this window has been extended to 60 days, giving applicants more time to gather necessary documentation and submit their appeals. However, there's a catch: the reconsideration process itself has become more stringent. If you're wondering why is my SRD grant declined, there could be several new reasons, including SASSA is now cross-checking with more government databases, including SARS, UIF, NSFAS, and various pension funds. The system flags even minimal banking activity as potential income. Repeated applications from the same IP address are being scrutinized for potential fraud. Former SASSA CEO Bizisai Memela Kembula explained before her retirement last year that these additional verification steps are necessary to ensure grants reach those truly in need. However, critics argue these measures may unfairly exclude eligible recipients due to technical issues. If your status shows pending for longer than usual, this is likely due to the enhanced verification process. The meaning of pending SASSA status has changed somewhat in 2025. It now includes an initial approval followed by this extended verification period before final approval. Mandatory bank account verification. Perhaps the most significant change affects how SASSA verifies your banking details. Starting March 2025, all grant recipients must undergo a new bank account verification process, regardless of how long you've been receiving your grant. This process requires you to submit updated proof of banking details, complete a new biometric verification at your bank, confirm your cell phone number is correctly linked to your SASSA profile. SASSA has partnered with major banks including Standard Bank, ABSA, Capitec, FNB, and net bank to streamline this process, but many recipients have reported SASSA bank verification delays lasting up to 3 weeks. Community development expert Dr. Memphila Ramphul commented on these changes, noting that while the intention to reduce fraud is commendable, SASSA must ensure these additional steps don't create undue hardship for vulnerable citizens who depend on timely grant payments. If you haven't received notification about verifying your banking details yet, you should proactively check your status on the SASSA website or mobile app. The deadline for completion is June 30, 2025, after which payments to unverified accounts may be temporarily suspended. Before we continue with more critical changes, if you're finding this information helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We publish weekly updates on SASSA grants, application processes, and payment information to keep you informed about your benefits. Hit that notification bell to never miss an update. Changes to reapplication requirements. For those receiving the SRD grant, the reapplication process has changed significantly. Previously, reapplication was required every 3 months. Under the new system, recipients must reapply every 6 months, but the documentation requirements have expanded. If you've been searching for information on reapplication for SRD grant, here's what you need to know for 2025. Proof of residence dated within the last 3 months, previously 6 months was acceptable. Updated affidavit confirming unemployment status. 3 months of bank statements, previously only 1 month was required. Contact details for 2 references who can confirm your unemployment status. While the extended period between reapplications offers some relief, the additional documentation requirements have created challenges for many beneficiaries. Community organizations report that obtaining recent proof of residence remains particularly difficult for those in informal settlements or rural areas. New powers to suspend grants. Another significant change concerns SASSA's authority to suspend grants. The question, can SASSA stop my grant? Has a new answer in 2025. Recent amendments to the Social Assistance Act have expanded SASSA's ability to temporarily suspend payments pending investigation. The circumstances under which this can happen now include suspected fraud or misrepresentation, failure to respond to verification requests, conflicting information from government databases, banking activity inconsistent with grant eligibility criteria, failure to complete the annual life verification process for old age and disability grants. It's important to understand that suspension is not the same as cancellation. If your grant is suspended, you have the right to submit evidence to resolve the issue, after which payments can be reinstated with back pay if the suspension is found to be unwarranted. Social justice advocate Justice Malala recently highlighted concerns about these expanded powers, noting that while fraud prevention is necessary, there must be clear safeguards to protect innocent beneficiaries from administrative errors that could leave them without crucial financial support. Digital migration and access issues. SASSA continues its push toward digital services, with an increased emphasis on the SASSA mobile app and online portal for status checks, applications, and queries in 2025. While this modernization improves efficiency for tech-savvy users, it creates access barriers for many grant recipients. For those searching SASSA Status Check 2025, you'll find the process has changed. The USSD mobile service, 1,203,210, will be phased out by September 2025, leaving the website and mobile app as the primary means of checking your status. To address the digital divide, SASSA has announced plans to deploy 500 digital access points at post offices and community centers nationwide, equipped with assistance personnel. However, only 120 of these centers are currently operational, with rural areas particularly underserved. Former Public Protector Thuli Medensila addressed this issue at a recent conference, emphasizing that digital transformation must not come at the expense of accessibility for our most vulnerable citizens, particularly the elderly and those in rural areas who may lack digital literacy or infrastructure. If you're having trouble accessing digital services, SASSA has temporarily expanded its call center capacity, though wait times remain long. The dedicated status check line, 860-1011, now operates extended hours from 7 am to 7 pm weekdays. Grant amount adjustments. While not exactly hidden, the adjustment of grant amounts deserves careful attention. For the 2025/26 fiscal year, grants have increased as follows. Old Age Grant, 2,190, ages 60-74, and a 2,210, ages 75 plus, a 4.8% increase. Disability Grant, 2,190, a 4.8% increase. Child Support Grant, a 540 a 5.9% increase. Foster Care Grant, around 1,180 a 4.4% increase. Care Dependency Grant, a 2,190 a 4.8% increase. SRD Grant, remains at a 370, only a 5.7% increase from the previous a 350. While these increases are welcomed, they remain below the current inflation rate of 6.2%, meaning the real purchasing power of these grants continues to decline. This is particularly concerning for SRD grant recipients, as the minimal increase fails to account for rising food and transportation costs. Economist Dr. Iraj Obedian noted in his analysis that the real value of social grants continues to erode against inflation, placing additional pressure on households already struggling with rising living costs. The SRD grant increase is particularly concerning given its importance as a final safety net for millions of unemployed South Africans. Changes to child support grant requirements. For caregivers receiving the child support grant, there are important new requirements regarding school attendance verification. Beginning with the 2025 school year, SASSA will require annual proof of school enrollment and quarterly attendance records for children aged 7-18. This change aims to support educational outcomes, but it creates additional administrative hurdles for caregivers. If proof of school attendance is not submitted, grants may be flagged for review, potentially leading to payment delays. Community organizations have raised concerns about this requirement, particularly for children with disabilities or those in remote areas where obtaining regular attendance verification may be challenging. SASSA has indicated that exceptions will be considered on a case-by-case basis, but the process for requesting exceptions remains unclear. New appeal process timelines. If you need to appeal a SASSA decision regarding your grant in 2025, be aware that the appeal process timelines have changed. Previously, the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeals, ITSAA, was required to process appeals within 90 days. Under the new regulations, this timeline has been extended to 120 days. While this gives the tribunal more time to carefully consider appeals, it means longer waits for appellants. If you're appealing a declined application or grant suspension, you should prepare for potentially 4 months without payment while your case is reviewed. To improve your chances of a successful appeal, ensure you submit all required documentation at the time of appeal. Clearly state the grounds for your appeal. Include any supporting evidence that wasn't available during your initial application. Follow up regularly on your appeal status. Former Constitutional Court Judge Albie Sachs recently commented that access to Social Security is a constitutional right, and appeal mechanisms must balance thoroughness with timeliness to avoid creating additional hardship for vulnerable citizens. Impact on foreign nationals. For permanent residents and refugees receiving SASSA grants, 2025 brings significant changes to documentation requirements. The validity period for verification of status has been reduced from 12 months to 6 months, meaning more frequent visits to Home Affairs offices for verification. Additionally, bank verification for non-citizen recipients now requires in-person appearance at both Home Affairs and your bank to complete the verification process. This dual verification requirement has created significant delays for many foreign national recipients. Human rights organizations have raised concerns about these additional barriers, particularly given the existing challenges many refugees and permanent residents face in accessing Home Affairs services. However, SASSA officials maintain these measures are necessary to ensure proper verification of eligibility. If you are a foreign national receiving a SASSA grant, it's crucial to start the verification process well before your current documentation expires to avoid payment interruptions. While we are on the topic of crucial information, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We monitor these SASSA changes closely and provide weekly updates on everything you need to know. Like this video if you found it helpful, and ring that notification bell to stay informed about your grants and benefits. Special disbursement schedule changes. The payment schedule for specific grants has undergone reorganization in 2025. Previously, all grant types were paid out starting from the 1st of each month. Under the new schedule, old age grants, 1st 5th of the month. Disability grants, 6th 10th of the month. Child support and other grants, 11th 15th of the month. SRD grants, throughout the month based on the last digit of your ID number. SASSA officials explain the staggered approach aims to reduce congestion at payment points and ATMs. However, it requires adjustment for recipients accustomed to receiving payments on specific dates. If you're searching for SASSA payment dates 2025, be sure to check which category your grant falls under in this new schedule. New recertification requirements. For disability grant recipients, 2025 brings changes to the recertification process. Previously, temporary disability grants required medical recertification every 12 months. The new policy reduces this to every 6 months for certain categories of disability. Additionally, permanent disability grant recipients, who previously underwent medical review every 5 years, will now be subject to review every 3 years. This change has raised concerns among disability advocacy groups about the additional burden placed on recipients with stable, long-term conditions. Disability rights activist Eddie Nopu criticized these changes, stating that requiring more frequent medical certification creates unnecessary hardship for people with disabilities, particularly those with permanent conditions that don't improve over time. If you're unsure about when your next certification is due, check your SASSA status online or contact the call center well in advance of your expected renewal date. Upcoming pilot programs to watch. While not yet fully implemented, several pilot programs launching in late 2025 may signal future changes to the grant system. These include a graduated exit program for SRD recipients, providing diminishing support over 6 months as recipients secure employment. A skills development requirement linking continued SRD eligibility to participation in government training programs. A community service component for able-bodied SRD recipients between 18 and 35 years old. These pilot programs will initially roll out in Gauteng and Western Cape provinces before potential nationwide implementation in 2026. While participation remains voluntary during the pilot phase, there are indications these components may become mandatory requirements in the future. Former Labour Minister Thulas Nexusai described these initiatives as transforming social grants from purely welfare to developmental interventions that build capabilities and pathways to economic participation. Conclusion and what you should do now. As we've discussed, numerous changes to SASSA grant administration in 2025 could significantly impact your payments. To ensure you continue receiving your benefits without interruption, verify and update your banking details before the June 30 deadline. Check your grant status regularly through the SASSA app or website. Submit any required documentation well ahead of deadlines. Begin recertification or reapplication processes early. Keep records of all interactions with SASSA, including reference numbers. Stay informed about changes specific to your grant type. Remember that local SASSA offices may have varying capacity to implement all these changes simultaneously, so experiences might differ depending on your location. Urban centers typically implement changes more quickly, while rural areas may experience longer transition periods. If you encounter difficulties with any of these new requirements, seek assistance from community organizations that specialize in social grant advocacy. Organizations like Black Sash, the Social Justice Coalition, and regional legal aid clinics can provide guidance and support if you experience problems. Thank you for watching this detailed breakdown of the hidden SASSA rule changes that could affect your payments in 2025. If you found this information valuable, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share with friends and family who receive SASSA grants. Drop a comment below with any questions you might have or topics you'd like us to cover in future videos. Stay informed, stay prepared, and make sure you receive every rand you're entitled to from your social grants. Until next time, take care, South Africa.